Okay, as I mentioned quite number of times, that Mahavatar Babaji, the great source of inspiration, meditation techniques, knowledge, wisdom, grace, but at the same time, unfortunately, this great master in a, in a tricky human mind become also source of all kinds of confusions, because Mahavatar Babaji is a great immortal Himalayan Mahatma, and only few yogis could meet him. But rumors and stories are huge, and it means public, people who interested in yoga, practicing yoga and meditation, they wish to know about him, and it means he becomes like a huge source of all that tricky things when people come in front of public, people publish books, make seminars and proclaim themselves as direct disciples of Mahavatar Babaji. So it means the huge source of inspiration and the true knowledge, at the same time unfortunately it becomes source of confusion. And as I always unfortunately have to make it fun, I don't know, maybe it's not a fun at all, that if you wish to become famous tomorrow morning and then today evening you have to proclaim yourself as the direct disciple, and a lot of people immediately will hurry up, run to you and become your devotees and followers. But really it's difficult to be sure who is really his disciple and who is not. And just a few minutes ago we spoke about different masters, including Jesus and Buddha and Krishna and Sai Baba, and the point is that there is no any logical proof. And when we speak about Mahavatar Babaji, there is no any logical proof as well. So it means if somebody is proclaiming, okay, I am direct disciple, how can we prove? The simple answer is not possible, at least logically. And it means it's a question of, it's a matter of belief, intuition, etc. And your intuition can be different from mine, and that is the beginning of the problem. But anyway, the fact remains that quite many people are cheating, okay, about that they are direct disciples. But at the same time, so we have to be careful, and sometimes really messengers from immortal masters like Mahavatar Babaji, really some messengers are coming to us, and then we have to be careful not to reject them. And my Guru Yogi Rama, who was born 1923 and who passed away 2006, and I spent with him more than 10 years, mostly in 90s. Yeah, he was openly disciple of Mahavatar Babaji, but what was extremely important about Yogi Rama, that he was openly speaking about all that only in front of really small bunch of disciples. Okay, when I spent a number of years in his ashram in South India, in the Tamil Nadu state, the normal situation in the ashram was, okay, 2, 3, sometimes 5 disciples were next to Yogi Ramaya. like me, sometimes 1 or 2 Americans, 2 or 3 Indians, that's like that. In the capital city of Tamil Nadu, now we call this wonderful city as a Chennai. At that time it was Madras. Okay, maybe 100 disciples, sometimes they visited his ashram. Actually, his ashram situated in a small village, something like 400 kilometers south from Chennai. And he was openly speaking about the fact that he was direct disciple of Mahatma Babaji, and he spent in his ashram in Himalayas number of years. It was in the 50s and 60s, again in the 20th century, of course, yeah, in 50s and 60s. But Yogi Rama never spoke about it really publicly. He never wrote and published even a single book. In that time it was 70s, 80s, 90s. It was, just the beginning of the internet age. So it means it was not possible to make videos like that and, distribute whatever kind of real or unreal information, like now we have. He was staying in his village, sometimes visiting the United States, sometimes Australia, sometimes England. 2 or 3 times he visited Russia. It was the very beginning of 90s. But, even his style was kind of strange. His behavior was like madman. He was giving spiritual instructions about meditation, philosophy of Vedanta, mantra, yoga, bija mantras, and at the same time he was, he was not trying to be nice. Like he was easily be unkind to the disciples, and his approach was like that: if you don't like, just take your luggage and leave the ashram. I'm not going to behave like you wish. That was his approach. And quite many people really could come to his ashram, spend few days and then just run away with the idea that, okay, this crazy old guy. You see, and Yogi Rama in the 50s and 60s, he spent really like few years in Himalayas behind Badrinath, in the cave ashrams, in different cave ashrams with Mahavtar Babaji, with the Gorakhnath, with Nagaraj Babaji, etc. He met number of immortal Mahatmas, and in 1968 he immigrated to the United States and later on became American citizen. And in the United States, as far as I know quite some real stories. In 70s, even in 80s, some American disciples, they tried to suggest to him, okay, how it's possible to become famous, and he just rejected it, because his mission was strictly to work with a small group of disciples, and that's full stop. And I mean to say, sometimes people say, okay, if Guru works with a small group of disciples, that's genuine, that's really saved. If somebody wished to work with a huge number of disciples, that's like fake Guru. I don't think like that, because we have plenty of great examples like Yogananda Paramahamsa or Swami Vivekananda, and both of that great gurus, they influenced millions of people. Okay, His Holiness Dalai Lama and many other people, Mother Teresa, and many great saints, Buddhist, Christian, yogic. Okay, they could attract huge number of people. The number of people is not the problem. If it is a part of your mission, means cool, yeah, it must be like that. If it is not a part of your mission, then you don't need it. So the question is like divine plan. I don't want to say karma. Karma is maybe not the point, but divine plan is there. And according to the divine plan, some masters must work with very limited number of disciples, and some masters must meet maybe hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of people. And there are saints in the Hindu, Buddhist and Orthodox Christian traditions which are just work with a dozen of disciples, not more. But there are those who may work with millions, and Yogi Rama was the one who was working with a very limited group. And even in that, sorry?
In your personal opinion, what is the reason why he was working with just a little number of people, small number of people?
Okay, the question is why he worked with a limited number of disciples. I have a few answers, and one of them I don't know. You have to ask Babaji why he did it like that. But at the same time, I may suppose that at that time, in 70s and 80s and 90s, Yogi Rama was speaking such a great kind of things and giving such a great meditation techniques and a bija mantra system that even for the humanity it could be better if all of us will receive it slightly step by step. And maybe, for example, right now it's much easier for me to speak, oh come on, my Guru Yogi Rama spent something like, I don't know, like few years in secret cave with Mahatma Babaji. It's very easy to say for me. But just imagine how it was for him to say, and it's huge difference if he has just made mention about it sometimes in front of 5 or 10 disciples or in front of millions. It's even when I was staying each year for a few months with him, really speaking, he was ready to discuss all that questions with us. Only sometimes it was not possible to discuss, okay, Mahatma Babaji or Goraknath or other immortals just on a daily basis. Just sometimes he could, okay, answer certain questions or give certain information, and I think it's obvious that publicity for him was not really proper, and I mean, it's a huge difference if if he is just staying in his small house, which was his ashram, and after supper, taking tea and discuss something with the 5 disciples is a huge difference, or to collect 100,000 people in somewhere, and discuss the same. And so that's I think it's a good example that we have in the form of Yogi Ramayana, real disciple, real messenger. And when he was alive, he was really hidden, half hidden. And of course, it's always divine magic how people could come to know about him without all that books, without all that internet, which was not created at that time. The question is, how it was possible to meet him if he was not publishing even books? I mean, now we have a bunch of books published by Marshal Govindan, and that books written by Nilakantan, and in that books many things supposed to be written by Yogi Ramayana, but it's total lie. Yogi Ramayana never published any books. I mean, in 50s he really met this Nilakantan, and they established a huge friendship in the beginning in the middle 50s. And what's happened that Yogi Ramayana already in that time Yogi Ramayana met Mahatma Babaji, it was 1952. And at that time, middle and the end of 50s, Yogi Ramayana already was direct disciple. And his best friend at that time, Nilakantan, he was journalist, very famous in South India. And Nilakantan was really jealous, and he wanted to meet Mahatma Babaji too. And somehow it's happened that he didn't become disciple. And what he choose Nilakantan, he chose just to create out of his imagination all that famous books, and actually he published them in 50s. And after that, Ramayana decided not to deal with him anymore, and they just Yogi Ramayana stopped to communicate with Nilakantan because of his misuse of this information. And it so happened.
So Nilakantan didn't meet Babaji.
Nilakantan didn't meet Babaji, and more than that, he created a lot of confusion about information about Babaji itself. He told in his books, Nilakantan told, he wrote in his books that Babaji was born 203, 204 in South India and all that blah blah. And later on, Marshal Govindan, he started to repeat all this kind of things, but really it's a complete confusion. And and all that books, they didn't become famous in 50s and 60s, and in the 21st century, when Yogi Ramayana passed away, Nilakantan passed away, then Marshal Govindan decided to make these books famous, successfully actually. And of course that books, they creating even more confusion, but it's a huge question. I mean, many people anyway read these books and experience huge inspiration and we have to be grateful. Okay, inspiration is a huge and a great, but factual information is totally incorrect, and that's the reason why Yogi Rama choose not to communicate with Nilakantan since 50s. And by the way, Marshal Govindan, he was disciple in 80s, end of 70s and 80s. He was disciple of Yogi Rama, and later on Yogi Rama even chose not to communicate with Marshal Govindan as well, because Marshal Govindan wanted to become guru, and Yogi Rama refused to bless him, and that was the reason for the conflict. And Yogi Rama was very strict. He could bless somebody and could not, and so he was very strict about it.
And he gave different sets of techniques.
Actually, Yogi Rama gave only preliminary techniques to the Marshal Govindan, and that preliminary techniques are Kriya Kundalini Pranayama. It's actually a set of very nice pranayama and techniques, but it's not a part of like, let us say, main course of Kriya Yoga. Yes. I also received Kriya Kundalini Pranayama from Yogi Rama, but he never considered it as the top or the main part. It was just preliminary, and so he told me to focus on the main part of so-called 18 Kriyas. So the main part of Kriya Yoga, and as the preliminary, normally we use Nabi Mudra Kriya, as you know, and actually it's one of the preliminary, I mean Kriya Kundalini, not even the main one. But anyway, we have to be extremely careful and wise, and all that books published by Marshal Govindan, anyway, it's very useful, because people receiving inspiration, even if information itself is wrong, incorrect, but inspiration is huge, and many people are starting meditation, and they feel connection with Mahatma Babaji because of all that books, and that's good part of this job. Yeah, you're absolutely right that we have one more immortal Mahatma. His name is the Babaji Nagaraj, and he was born in South India 203, 204 in South India, not so far from Chidambaram. That's really so. And Yogi Rama, he told us so many times that really Babaji Nagaraj was born exactly in that year. But Mahatma Babaji was like guru of his gurus. You know, Mahatma Babaji was guru of Agastya, and then Agastya Muni was guru of Babaji Nagaraj. So it's a kind of confusion, and also we have to be wise enough to understand in which part of this confusion is really important, which of them not. For me, it's important to know all these real facts and the stories, but at the same time, if somebody is just mixing in the mind all that, but at the same time practicing meditation, really worship to Babaji, even without understanding that there are many Babajis, Mahatar Babaji, Gorakhnath Babaji, Nagaraj Babaji, Haidakan Babaji, even without that deep understanding, if people are sincerely practicing meditation, that's wonderful.